Tell me, Steve, what would you say are the major differences between you and your opponent in this particular election?
My opponent, is trying very carefully to mask some of her positions, but
State Representative Steve Elkins is running for re-election.
Pleasure seeing you. Pleasure.
Early voting is underway. Tuesday, November 8th, Election Day, is almost here. Steve and David Fisher visited Democratic Visions to talk about issues of real concern to West Bloomington voters. That's House District 50B. Steve and Judy Elkins have lived near Lake Normandale for 38 years. Steve has served West Bloomington on the City Council, the Met Council, and the state legislature. Here's guest host David Fisher with Representative Steve Elkins.
You're running for re-election. You've done a number of things now in your term as a state representative, running now for District 50B. Why are you running? Why should people vote for you in this election?
People characterize me, keep characterizing me as a thoughtful legislator, and I ask what they mean by that, and they say, Steve, well, when you grab a hold of an issue, you take the time to understand it thoroughly, you research it inside and out, you talk to all of the stakeholders, and only then do you put pen to paper and start trying to draft legislation. And as you're doing it, you continue to engage in a dialogue, continue to engage in your research, and so the bills you draft are really well written.
What would be your top 3 or 4 priorities if you're re-elected
The top
now?
things that I'm been working on and want to continue working on, because there's a lot of unfinished business. The legislature didn't actually pass much the last session. My initiatives on healthcare pricing, I've been working actually at the national level on legislation that would require the hospitals and drug companies publish their prices in a legible manner, so that we could know, how much things are going to cost before we have them done. Working with a company in San Diego that is created a price comparison tool where you can go in and enter your zip code and a procedure like your foot that you might be thinking of having.
I have a broken foot.
But
yes.
But it would tell you what the cost of fixing it would be at any hospital in the Twin Cities by health plan. That ought to be something that is easy for someone to use. Housing is another one. After spending 20 years in local and regional government, I kind of became an expert on zoning law, and so I've been working very hard on zoning law reforms that would reduce the cost of housing. Last night I was feted as the Home Builders Legislator of the Year, and introducing me when they were presenting the award, Jason DeRusha, said, "Look, this is the most comprehensive housing and zoning reform bill that's been introduced anywhere in the country." So I'm proud.
Congratulations.
Proud of that kind of work. I want to continue doing that.
Steve, tell me some of the differences between you and your opponent in this race, Beth Beebe.
Yeah. Well, I'd say one of the big differences is that I've been a staunch defender of a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices. I've been endorsed by the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, while my opponent is staunchly anti-abortion and has been endorsed by the Minnesota Conservative Citizens Concern for Life anti-abortion group. I've been a very strong advocate for gun violence protection. I've been named a gun sense candidate by Moms Demand Action. Beth has been silent on that issue. I very strongly believe in equal rights for everyone, regardless of their race, gender, sexual orientation, whereas my opponent is supportive of the intolerant policies of the Minnesota Family Council. I'm a very strong believer that our current election system is free and fair, and that the results are accurately tabulated, while my opponent is very obviously, from her comments, an election denier, and would restrict our current abilities to vote freely and fairly.
Are there any areas where you may agree with Beth Beebe in this election?
Yeah, I think on education, we both very strongly believe that the state should pick up the full funding for special education and English language learning. For the Bloomington School District, that would mean $12 million. We both are in favor of the state doing that. I would actually vote to provide the funding, which is like $900 million a year. I doubt that she would actually vote for that. And we are both very strongly supporting the school levy referendum renewal to support safe and innovative schools. So we both come out in favor
That's
of
right.
that.
It's a good reminder to the electorate that there is a ballot issue
Yep.
on the ballot for this election. This next legislature will be faced with a budget surplus of probably over $12 billion. None of that was spent last year, and now it's just increasing in value. How would you divvy up that $12 billion if you were reelected?
Yeah, towards the end of the regular session, the governor, Speaker Hortman, and Senate Majority Leader Jeremy Miller came to a compromise that I thought was actually quite reasonable. And under that compromise, about a third of what will actually end up being about a $12 billion deficit for this next biennium, or surplus, I'm sorry. A quarter of it would have been, put aside to put into the rainy day fund in case of a recession. Sure. About a third of it would have been put into tax relief, and including, complete elimination of all taxation on Social Security benefits, a small cut in the lower tier income tax rates, plus a variety of measures that House Democrats were promoting that provide circuit breaker relief on property taxes. And then the final third would have been gone to increase spending, but the increased spending would have been things like the $900 million to have the state pick up the complete cost of funding special education. It would have provided a like amount of money to provide increased salaries for people who are working in direct care provisions like nursing home workers, personal care attendants who are tending to people with disabilities in their homes. Right now, half the positions in those professions are open right now because they pay less than flipping burgers at McDonald's, and the agencies who staff these positions just can't keep the positions filled at the salaries that are going right now. And then there would have been about $400 to $500 million in funding for public safety. Money going to cities and counties to help them attract, retain, and train a new generation of public safety workers. And sadly, when it came time to pass the individual elements of that into law, the Republicans basically welched on the deal and walked away from the table.
Check out Steve's website at elkinsforhouse.com. That's elkinsforhouse.com. Steve is also on Facebook.
Anything else you can tell your voters about why this election is important?
Well, I think the issue of public safety has been been very front and center. My opponent has been kind of a fear-monger on this one, but at this point in the campaign, I've already knocked on, literally, I've walked every single residential block in this entire district. I've had conversations with over 2,000 voters, and Bloomington residents feel safe in their neighborhoods, and they should. I'm currently enrolled in the Bloomington Citizens Police Academy. And we're in week 7. We just had presentations from the SWAT team and the bomb squad last week. But at the first session, Chief Hodges, told us, look, so far this year, crime in Bloomington is actually at a 4-year low. And at the doors, not a single voter has told me that they feel unsafe in their neighborhoods. And as to allegations that I'm soft on crime somehow, I have never voted against a public safety bill in my full 4 years in the House. I've been the lead author on our bill to improve transit safety, which I crafted with the help of a Republican co-author, and which passed the House Transportation Committee on a bipartisan 15-to-1 vote.
Now, Beth Beebe has indicated in her literature and on her website that you're in favor of defunding police.
No, we're not, never been in favor of defunding the police. In fact, as I mentioned, we were prepared to put another $400 to $500 million into public safety at the state level to help local governments attract and retain public service workers. I'm happy to report also that I've learned in the police academy that Bloomington is actually in pretty good shape. We've been through the wave of baby boomer police retirements, and because of the reputation of our police department, it's a destination police department. People quit other police departments to come work here because the training is and the environment is so good. But we're pretty much fully staffed now. Again, we have a lot of younger officers who are going through their training right now. But we have been able to hire and train our next generation of police officers, and they're all being trained that the mantra of the Bloomington Police is that if we are respectful to everyone, we will be the most respected agency in the country. Yeah. So I've been very impressed and supportive of what I've learned by going through the Police Citizens Academy, and I recommend other people, when it's offered again next fall, sign up for it. It's an amazing program.
Fabulous. Steve, thank you for being with us today and describing your vision for the state of Minnesota. This is going to be a tight race. Thank you and congratulations on running and being a part of our democracy going forward.
Check out Steve's website at elkinsforhouse.com. That's elkinsforhouse.com. Steve is also on Facebook. Democratic Visions is handcrafted by volunteers from Eden Prairie, Hopkins, Minnetonka, Edina, and Bloomington. Watch us on select cable systems and on our YouTube channel. This is Carol Sundstrom.